Hello champions, welcome to The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. I'll use my time on this great platform to let you all know that I'm aware you all saw my belly as I jumped up and down like a petulant child. For once in my life, a group of people liked me. I mean, they truly liked me. My mummy always told me that someday people would actually want to play with me, and now I have proof she was right. So yeah, I showed my belly. Mr. Trump even invited me to take over. He said, take over, Leon, take over. Anyway, stick around and enjoy this podcast. Nick and Steve will delight you, excite you, and maybe even teach you something. Years ago, they taught me that 4 + 3 = 6. I support these guys, full throat. I'm talking deep throat. Damn, I think I'm going to show my belly again. Let me do this properly. And now here come Nick and Steve. I'm Leon Musk, and I support them.
All right. Well, this is a one-way relationship because we do not support you, Leon Musk.
Right. That's funny. I like that I can crack up at our own stuff. So thanks, Leon. And I think of him to acknowledge that, we like to call him Leon Musk because that's what Trump called him. So he's embracing it.
Yes, and he's embracing showing his belly, which I loved. We're the kind of people that notice stuff like that. Welcome to The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Yes, indeed. We're all over the social medias, much like Leon Musk is, although we tend to stay away from his actual personal platform, his personal toy that Twitter has become. But we're on there if you want to find us. Otherwise, find us on the better ones. Specifically, those would be YouTube, TikTok, and Reddit. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you can find us just about anywhere, including at thevocalminority.net. And we have a comment line, 844-48-VOCAL. But you found the most important thing. It's our podcast, for crying out loud.
That is true. 2 episodes a week. Please listen to them, study them. There'll be a pop quiz later. Share them with friends and family. And the social media stuff, it is a lot of fun. It's, the highlights of what we do here. And then, the vocal minority, the minority out there, the individual, the person without their own show, they're all over the comment section. And that's a lot of fun for the most part.
Yeah, how you dealing mentally this week, dude? How you feeling? Last week we talked about on the podcast where Steve was having to deal with deranged MAGA folks, and you were feeling a little mentally under the weather.
Yes, I'm trying to come to a balance with all of this comment section stuff because it is fun for me on some level. It's good for our posts. It gets more interaction going. It gets more views and comments. But it's been wearing on me. And you're concerned about it. My therapist is concerned about it. My girlfriend's concerned about it. So here's the thing. When it comes to Reddit, which is the most argumentative social media platform in the entire universe, I've determined, I'm letting some comments go. I'm just ignoring some of them. Mm-hmm. Some of them I give a reply or two, and then I just kind of walk away because where's it going? But I will tell you, I got up Saturday morning. I threw a little fuel on the fire for stuff we had already posted. Then I left it alone for about 48 hours. And that's the biggest disconnect I've done through the week. So I'm trying to step back a little, but still be productive.
Yes. Well, I'm proud of you, dude. That's a big change to make in 1 week's time. Also, last week on the podcast, we talked about a fun game that Steve of the Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve plays with his lover. She likes to hide things in his house, different, it could be any sort of item, but it's mainly a gift, and she hides it, and whenever he finds it is when he gets the gift. We were talking about an issue you were having finding one of these surprises. How long did this last one take you?
Yeah, she likes to hide things in my house. I like to hide things in her. But the last one, it took, I'm going to say 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. I don't know. Yeah.
Close to 4.
Yeah. No, she likes to get little cool things. Like for those of you watching on the interweb, here's my little Stan Lee Funko Pop that she had gotten me that, means a lot to me. And she likes to get little things like that. And she had been putting them around the house where they would belong. Like she got me an Olympics magnet when she was in Paris, and she put it on the fridge. And as soon as I walk in the kitchen, I immediately notice that. Or she'll give me another little, statuette, and it's in my room. Like I notice this stuff immediately.
Steve uses poo wipes to clean his butt, and she'll leave poo wipes or whatever for him,
Yes, that came up on the show, and then I show up at her place. There's some wipes for me. Now she's taken to hiding things.
Hiding things. Yeah, it's become a game, dude, where you try and find it, and then once you do, you say, oh, I found it. Thank you so much. Well, this last one took about 4 weeks, and I would like to just make a note on the show that last week I made a prediction of what I thought this item was.
I think it's socks. I think it's in your sock drawer.
I've been through the sock drawer, too. I don't think it's clothing. I mean, I've been pretty thoroughly through all those drawers, but it's definitely not T-shirts, socks, or underwear.
It's definitely not T-shirts, socks, or underwear. Do we have any updates on what happened?
Yes. I'm glad you're getting into the prediction game and the Nick is right game. As it turns out, here's the funny thing, all right, that you are right. That night after we recorded the show, she was over, and I told her, like, hey, we talked about the whole hidden thing on the show. Nick thought that it was socks. And her eyes got as wide as the moon, wide as saucers, like, oh my gosh. And then I told her, like, but it's not socks because I've looked through my sock drawer. There's no socks in there. So I just moved on, and she didn't bring it up again. But then 24 hours later, that started sticking in my brain of like, why did she give that reaction?
Right.
Well, the thing is, I have 2 sock drawers, One of them is my athletic socks that I wear commonly with shoes. It's also flip-flop season still in my world. I know it's October. I'm still wearing flip-flops. But
what's aside from the athletic socks, what is the other drawer called?
That's my fancy sock drawer. So, all of my nice white socks, my black socks, and my novelty socks. I have like guitar socks. I have a beer sock that my daughter gave me. Like, those are my fancy socks.
Okay.
So I had this moment of like, maybe it is a sock. Maybe that's why her eyes got so big. And I went right for my fancy sock drawer, opened it up, and damn it, there they are.
Oh, and what were they? They were KTM socks?
Yes. So I'm a dirt biker. KTM is what I ride. And she got me KTM orange socks. And as we discussed on the show a week ago, she thought that maybe she buried it too far down, or maybe I thought I already had those socks. I do have a pair of orange socks. Those beer socks are orange with little bubbles floating up at the top. And
okay.
So I opened it up, and sure as shizzle, there are a pair of orange KTM socks waiting for me. And not only are they KTM socks, I realized they're actually riding socks. Like, they're meant to be worn with dirt bike boots. Like, they're a little thinner, they breathe easy, but they're durable athletic socks. So I actually wore them on my next ride out, and they're great socks. But yeah, it took me like a month, but I found them, and yes, Nick was right. You joined the club, Nick. Good job.
Joined it, dude. I thought as soon as I heard that it was actual socks, I mean, you sent me a picture. I was like, oh, I can get in on this Nick was right thing and prediction thing. Right. So yeah, here I am.
There you go. You're predicting a more narrow scope as far as what society cares about, but it means a lot to me that you're putting your effort into it.
Well, now that you have a pair of KTM socks in your house, you can add it to the great way you decorate your pad there, Stephen.
I was going to say, my house is relatively awesome, if you ask me. I mean, I got cool stuff around here. I mean, half of it you can see behind me if you're watching on any of the social media stuff. But, out in my living room, I have a stand-up Pac-Man arcade game. I have an actual dirt bike inside my house that's all wrapped in, like, Christmas lights. If you're a fan of the show, it's the one that used to be behind me in my former studio. It's now in my living room.
This is for people of our vintage. His house is a lot kind of like Silver Spoons.
Exactly. That was one of my inspirations, was the Silver Spoons house, that they had arcade games and the train that went around. But it was still a fancy, nice house. And my son, when I first got divorced and I told him how I was going to start decorating stuff, he said, your design aesthetic is mature dad with a touch of immature dude.
I mean, that's the perfect way to describe what your house looks like.
It really is.
With so many cool things in there, do you ever wonder? I wonder if everybody likes this stuff in my house as much as I do.
That's a very good question, because, yes, I do sometimes get a little self-conscious, but my house is full of visual representations of things I like, much like the studio you see behind me. I like cool things spread around, but I don't want to come off as immature or, just outdated or something like that. So I did come across an article here that's going to be part of the theme today of today's episode of things that some people may find off-putting. These are things that they say that adults basically anyone over the age of 30 should no longer have in their home. Do we have any of these things, and do we agree or disagree?
I bet we do. I mean, I would think so, and I don't think we'll agree. But I will say that, like I have so many, I collect posters from Dave Matthews concerts. And to me, I think they're artwork. And they are artwork. It just depends whether you like the artwork or not. But I have so many that people have made comments when they come into my house about, like, God, you have a lot of concert posters or whatever. I'm just like, well, yeah. Are you saying you don't like it, or you do? Or because I guess I don't really care. It's what I like. So
right. The response should be, yeah, I do, because I'm freaking awesome. So
yeah.
On the, let's just go to the list here. These are things that, like I said, after the age of 30, you should no longer have in your house. First one on the list, I'm not making this up, nor did Nick and I coordinate ahead of time. First one on the list, poster art.
Let's talk about this a little bit, because how much do you think a poster costs? Because when I think of a poster, I think of a price range of, I don't know, $0 to $20. And all of these posters, and I say in air quotes, are framed, and you wouldn't know they're not a poster. It's more of an art print, right? And they do not cost $20.
Well, is that how you justify it? I mean, there's a classic question of what is art, right? So
Sure.
I think when it comes to posters, first of all, what's the content? Is it some, I don't know, some video game poster or something? Is it Michael Jordan dunking still, like I had in middle school?
Right. Yes.
The poster, and is it framed, or is it up with thumbtacks? Now, again, as you can see behind me in my studio here, that's a poster of the Doors. It is not framed. It is hung with thumbtacks. It's a cool vintage reprint that I got at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. I think it's cool, but it's not framed. I think that is a distinction.
I think so too. And that is a true poster. It's a picture. It's a true poster, but it's but it's also in the right room. It's not out in your living room.
Yes, that is all true. This article says, and let me just give some credit where credit might not be due. It's by Shelby Deering. I assume that's a woman. I don't know if that'll taint her perspective or not. But if you're still hanging on to that dorm room poster of the Starry Night, or God forbid, anything that features a liquor bottle, then consider it a sign you need to move on. It's time to take down the posters, even if framed, and slowly begin to assemble your own art collection. I don't know. Like, sure, if it's a Budweiser poster or Michael Jordan, unless it's a vintage that he autographed and you framed, like, okay, maybe there's something there. But she said even framed. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that, dude. I just framed, I bought the concert print in Prague for Dave Matthews, and it was such a freaking cool poster, dude. And I have not framed it since I've been back. That's been months. I've been looking for the right frame and everything else, and I found it. I did it yesterday, and I tell you, this is not to try and be braggadocious that it costs money, but I would think that if I can't buy it at Spencer's, or I can't buy it at the local music, the record store, if I don't go through a portfolio that are made of plastic, right, that it's not a poster, dude. It's an actual art print.
Well, that's fair. First of all, Matthews commissions actual artists to make actual things specific to each city, right?
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
And what's with this if you have a dorm room poster of a Starry Night? What is that, Van Gogh, I think?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I have a Starry Night pillow out in my living room. Is that bad? It's on a pillow. But, I mean, it's Van Gogh. It's art. So even if it's framed, somehow Van Gogh is not okay?
Yeah, I think probably what she's talking about is like, when she talks about dorm rooms and stuff like that, you're talking about like your first IKEA posters of artists that people had. As far as Van Gogh, though, like, that's art. I mean, if you don't like Starry Night, that's fine. You think it's overplayed, that's fine. But Starry Night is overplayed if it is for a reason, right? It's one of the greats.
Well, it's hanging in a museum somewhere. So
Yeah.
I don't care if I have a print. If it's framed, like, that should be acceptable. So this seems a little stingy to me, but they say poster art. we should no longer have in our house, Nick. So some of this is certainly going to be relative to your lot in life, who you're with, and, what kind of profession. Like, we work in the music world. We work in radio. So having music posters around the house just seems appropriate and awesome to me.
Yes, I would agree.
Perfect. Next one on the list, these are things you should no longer have in your home if you're over the age of 30. There's a caveat on this one. Upholstery pieces, but they say poor quality upholstery pieces.
Meaning like a couch or?
Now, let's see. I don't know. At first I thought this was like a wall tapestry thing, but upholstery pieces. Poor quality upholstery pieces like a well-worn armchair from IKEA are still in your living space, then they should probably go. Okay, so they're talking about like if you found that couch on the curb and you've had it in your house since you were 22 or whatever, if you got some old armchair thing that's just an old upholstered piece of furniture that's worn out and old, that you should upgrade and get real adult furniture.
I would agree with that, but I also think there's probably a room in your house for that old upholstered chair that you want to keep. If you got, what people would refer to as a man cave or a she shed or whatever, like you should have a room in your house where you can put stuff that you don't put in your whole house, that's just kind of sort of dedicated to you being an idiot.
Yeah. There's always a fine line between something that's old and something that's vintage. When it becomes vintage, then it's hip and cool, So if you've got some couch that your grandma would have had in 1950, like there might be some hip factor to that. But I do get what they mean as far as that piece of crap furniture you've been holding on to since you were 20 and you got it off the curb, might be time to move on.
Get rid of the futon. It's time to move on.
Right. I saw a stand-up comedian a few years ago, and as always, I wish I could tell you the guy's name, but I can't. But he had a whole bit about how he knew he was an adult because he went out and bought his first couch. He was like, I always thought couches were free. You just find them in the neighborhood. You can bring them in your house. He was like, I was shocked to see how much couches actually cost. So it was a major investment. And yes, sign, I'm an adult. I bought a couch.
Yeah. No, I think we can agree on that one. She's probably right.
Okay. The next one on the list, shouldn't have this in your house anymore if you're an adult. A mattress on the floor, similar to the whole futon kind of thing, I would say. But if you still have a mattress on the floor, it is way past time to purchase a real bed frame. Okay.
Sure, of course. I mean, if you let's be real here. Do you not have a bed frame because you're poor and you're just lucky to have a mattress? Or do you not have a bed frame because you're just, still a frat boy? There's different reasons for it. So, yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, everybody 30 and above should have a bed frame. Sure.
I saw a meme the other day that sort of hit home, and it was one that I'm sorry to say it kind of hit home, but it was a picture of basically an empty room, and it was just a mattress on the floor with like a blanket and a pillow. And I'm just going to paraphrase what the meme said, but it was basically like, if you've never been an adult and had to start over like this, then you've never understood real struggle in your life. I would hope that none of us have had to do that, but literally 4 years ago, whatever it was, when my epically terrible, engagement blew up, I ended up in a empty home with a mattress on the floor. And part of it was because all my furniture was still locked in the ex's house, and I had, like the battles going on to get all my shit back. But for a couple of weeks, I lived as a 40-something-year-old guy with a mattress on the floor. And not only was it depressing, but it was humbling. It did remind me, like, when I finally got my furniture back and I had my adult home back, I was very appreciative of it all.
Isn't that something, dude? I mean, just to be put in that situation for, a month, like you said. First of all, it can happen to any of us. Things can change so quickly. This is a privileged list of things that you should have after 30. But you never know when that stuff's going to happen, and it does make you grateful, dude. It does make you grateful for all the stuff that you do have.
Yeah. But a basic bed frame is really not that much money. It doesn't mean you have to have the fancy headboard and footboard and all that. But yeah, I would encourage everyone to upgrade.
Get it off the floor. You are worth it. You're right.
That's right. Next one on the list, things you should not have in your house still. This could be off-putting to people if they show up to your adult home. And you have hand-me-down plates, silverware, things like that. Do you have a potpourri of plates and silverware, glasses that you've been collecting over the course of your life? Or have you ponied up and bought a adult set of plates and knives and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I have, I have several sets of plates that are sets, some are fancy, some are just for dinner every night or whatever. But yes, I have a matching set. That said, I've got cups that I have matching, but then I have the cups that I use most often that are, plastic Starbucks cups for iced coffee, stuff like that. I'll throw water in them and throw a lid on them. So I've got some mismatched stuff in there.
Yeah. I will tell you, getting divorced, it was really good for my home wares, the stuff I have around my house. Because, my ex-wife and I met when we were in our, early 20s. We were together for nearly 20 years. And there was a lot of aging that went on in your 20s and 30s and your 40s, as far as the couch from the curb and hand-me-down, all of this kind of stuff. So I had a lot of that stuff. And even when I got divorced, my ex-wife was nice enough to be like, here, I don't use these shitty silverware things anymore. Why don't you take them? But as Nick witnessed, I sort of had to go and I left my house from the divorce with nothing. I had like $20 in my pocket. I took my guitars, my collectibles, but I had an empty house. And I had to go out there and buy all new stuff. So the reason I have a nice house right now with furniture and whatnot, modern stuff, is, because I got kicked in the nuts and got divorced and had no choice. I either had to be the pathetic divorced dad living with the mattress on the floor and eating off a cardboard box, or, I had to go get creative and go buy all new furniture.
And look what you did, dude. Do you ever think about the comeback? Like, you made a pretty triumphant comeback, if I do say so myself. Not a comeback that everyone can make emotionally or financially, and somehow you were able to do it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It does feel good. I walk around my home and I feel like I have an adult house. And, in my dating exploits since I got divorced, more than one woman has come to my house and been like, this is your house? Like, you pick this stuff out? Like, these things match. These things are cord. Like, really? And I'm always a little proud of, I got an adult house. I have a bedroom set. Things match. My living room furniture, it matches. I have matching coffee tables and end tables.
Yeah. You done did good.
Yeah. But up until the divorce, I think we still had a lot of mismatched stuff. So I guess upgrade. And as I've learned, like silverware and plates, I don't know, go to Walmart. It's really not that much. And they all match and they look modern. So,
you know what else, dude? Amazon. Amazon is just a place for shit, dude. I'll tell you what, silverware, whatever you're going to buy, like if you go on Amazon, first of all, you have, 40 or plus vendors in front of you vying for your purchase. And you can find stuff. So it's such great deals on Amazon for all that stupid stuff that should match.
You are totally correct. Amazon, Walmart. Every time I've moved and when some things have blown up, I've lost things somehow. Like, boy, I used to have a cutting board, but now I don't. Like, just go on Amazon. And I just have a little list going and just send that stuff off. It's not that hard. So, speaking of like Amazon and Walmart, what about IKEA? Do you still have white particle board furniture in your house? In my 20s, almost everything was from IKEA. But they're saying once you get past 30, you should probably move on from the white particle board, cheap IKEA furniture.
I'd agree with that. Again, I mean, this is a list of privilege. Like, some people can't afford to do more than that. You know what I mean? But if you can, I guess this is who we're talking about. And, you should move on from that stuff. I guess it also, you have to think about, like, how materialistic are you? Like, this is not to say that you can't be a happy, responsible, contributing member of society that loves people and have IKEA furniture. Like, that's stupid.
Right. You are correct. There's a certain amount of privilege on this list. It all implies that you have money to spend on these things. Because in my 20s and probably in my 30s, I was like, I got 100 other things I need to buy ahead of a couch or mat. Yeah, you're definitely accurate on that one. And IKEA definitely was good for a while there, but that stuff does fall apart. I did have a desk up until the divorce that was still IKEA, so.
Yeah, it's funny with IKEA, too. I don't think I have anything in my house from IKEA anymore, but we have an IKEA here in Seattle. And, that place is huge, and they have definitely got different sections of IKEA. They have the college kid section all the way up to the professional adult. I mean, they do have nice, expensive stuff at IKEA as well. They get a bad rap.
They do. And there's probably some select things that even plus 30 years old you can get away with. Some wall art, some lamps, an end table. Like, bite me, who knows that you put it together with an Allen wrench,
That's right.
Okay, you mentioned earlier the mattress on the floor reminded you of a futon. Next one on the list is a futon in your living room. They say you should not have.
Of course you shouldn't have an IKEA. You shouldn't have a futon as your couch. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and the guest bed or whatever. Now, I will tell you, in a previous iteration of my adult dating life here, I lived with a woman who had a $5,000 futon. Like, this thing was well made. It was heavy duty. Is that acceptable if it's a nice futon, or is just any futon a little low class?
Did she have blonde hair or black?
Blonde.
Fuck no, it's not that. What? No. Yeah.
So, all right, move on from the futon, no matter how much money you spent on it. All right, here's one I am still guilty of. You should not, if you're an adult over the age of 30, have mismatched storage bins and Tupperware things in your house. Do you have matching sets of Tupperware to store leftovers in, or do you have a hodgepodge? Because I do still have a hodgepodge for sure.
I have both. I have some matching and some that are hodgepodge. I think it's impossible, dude, not to have some sort of hodgepodge of Tupperware stuff because, you send somebody home with some leftovers, you lose lids, you lose you got a hodgepodge. This is really getting down to the nitty gritty, dude.
Yes, this is a little snobby, nitpicky, if you ask me. I'm an adult because I need Tupperware. I store some leftovers or things. Like, that's what matters. Do you need Tupperware? Because when I was 20-something, I didn't need Tupperware for anything except maybe storing pot in.
Yeah, isn't that so true? Yeah, you're going to have a little hodgepodge here and there. Don't look in my Tupperware drawer, dude. Stay out of my Tupperware drawer.
That's another valid point. Someone should be pretty far into your world before they even find where your Tupperware is at. So.
Right.
Take it down a notch. Similar topic, though. I think this is snobby if you ask me. They say if you're an adult, you should not have plastic bathroom accessories. Like a toothbrush holder or, like a toilet brush. Or like, I think almost all of my bathroom accessories are plastic. Are you getting porcelain soap holders, toothbrush holders or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have any. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's weird. I guess I haven't thought about it. What do you store your toothbrush in? I have a stand-up toothbrush, an electric, so it sits on a base, so I don't have a holder for it. But yeah, I don't know. Plastic, not plastic? What are we talking about? Maybe they don't want the matching set from Walmart or whatever in your bathroom. This is really, really a snobby list.
I think so. It's getting a little snobby. It's time to replace your disposable hand soap container and plastic waste bins with more elevated alternatives. My trash can is plastic. First of all, if you have a soap dispenser, you're already an elevated adult. I usually just take whatever comes in, a little dial soap, and stick it there. If you're transferring hand soap into its own container, you're high class. All right,
you're doing good, dude. Don't worry about yourself. As long as you're washing your frickin' hands, dude, you should be fine, right?
Exactly. If you even have hand soap in your house. That's the one thing COVID taught me. Apparently, most of us just don't wash our freaking hands because everyone was like, "Oh, that's how you wash your hands? You got to do like 30 seconds more."
Got to sing "Happy Birthday." Here's a question for you, dude. What do you think of barred soap, like a bar of soap to wash your hands in your bathroom?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I had a one of the previous iterations of dating. She gave me this, I don't know, like organic bar of soap that was supposed to be like exfoliating and better for your skin. I hated the thing because it would sit on the edge of my sink and all that soap residue would get everywhere. I had to get a soap dish for it, which would always fall in the sink and get chipped. And just give me liquid hand soap. This isn't the 1800s. Why do I have to have a...
Right. Hey, dude, we use liquid hand soap, but we have a bar of hand soap in our guest or the bathroom we use every day, but it's the one where if you came over, it's the bathroom you would use as well. We have a bar of soap in there that's a pretty bar of soap that you bought at some farmer's market, it's got stuff in it. Rachel uses that bar of soap randomly, and it makes the biggest mess that I've ever seen. And now you ruin the pretty bar of soap, dude. I mean, it just looks like, it just looks like a wet, dried up piece of, I just don't get a bar of soap, dude, if you're going to use it.
Totally agree. I think bar soap is weird. It does get messy. And yeah, that's very, 1950s or whatever. You have the decorative soap. Don't use the soap. Just, it's a flower. It's pretty.
Right. My mom had, when I was a kid, had those decorative, like, it was soap that was in the shape of a heart or something and had it, and you didn't use it. Don't use that good soap, dude. Use the dial.
You're too adult if you have decorative soap that no one's supposed to use. Moving on down the list, things you're not supposed to have anymore if you're an adult. I don't know that I ever had this. Sheets as curtains.
No.
Like in my garage or something. But I don't recall. Like if I was at a stage of life where sheets would have been my option, I don't know that I would have cared about having curtains.
Right.
Dad had, blinds in or something. Why do I need to hang a bed sheet up?
Yeah, I think that is probably a little sort of outdated because by the time we got into apartments, I mean, every apartment had blinds. Maybe even if they were crappy, like they had blinds that were half broken or whatever. You wouldn't have hung a curtain in the or a sheet. Yeah, that's kind of ghetto.
And speaking again about like Amazon, Walmart, I have a very nice sheet hanging in my studio here. It's gray. It's an actual curtain. Did I say sheet? I have a nice curtain hanging here in the studio. It's gray. It's got like silver hoops at the top. I think I paid $9.99 at Walmart for it. I mean, it's not that big of an investment, but it does look nice.
It's cheaper than a sheet, dude.
Probably. Probably could use those sheets for something else.
There you go.
So move on down the line. The last one on the list, this is just dumb. A bag set comforter? Bite me. If you have a comforter, you're already an adult. Doesn't matter if it came in some set from Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever. What a snob.
Yeah, this is a snobby list, dude. This is a snob. I agree with you. I mean, that's stupid. Come on.
Listen, some of these things we've had in our house and we vehemently disagree with. Other things, though, are just snobby. The plastic, stuff in your bathroom, or who cares if you bought your comforter in a frickin' set? You got a comforter in some sort of duvet that probably matches your pillows. Like, good on you.
Yeah, this list is starting to drive me away, dude. Speaking of which, segue alert. I have a article that I was going over that has common mistakes that drive men away. This, ladies, is not going to drive you away, per se, but this is going to drive men away. Shall we go over it?
Yes. Could this apply to gay couples as well? Two men together?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, as I just look at the first one on the list, I would think this would drive anyone away if you were in a relationship. It starts out with lack of communication. I mean, I think that is not just for men. I would even say that's more for women than men, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, in almost any relationship, communication is pretty damn paramount, whether it's romantic or a roommate or a coworker or whatever else. So, yeah, I'll agree with that one. That'll drive me away.
Says this effective communication is the backbone of any relationship. When partners fail to express their feelings and thoughts openly, misunderstandings can arise. So, yeah, miscommunication, that'll pop up.
Although sometimes, like, pipe down already. Why is everyone going to talk to me so much?
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you just want to sit and be a veg, don't you?
Absolutely. Kennedy gets a lot of these TikTok videos that are little, I don't know what to call them, like little relationship words of wisdom. Like, if you're like this, then you're good, or, whatever.
Sure.
She sent me one the other day, and she was like, this one really kind of resonated with me. And it was a little blurb talking about that. It's a sign of a good relationship if you can have just good conversation with each other. If you can just sit around, the two of you, just chatting about stuff, whether it's politics or life or whatever it is, that good conversation is a key to a good relationship. But he thankfully added on the little asterisk, doesn't mean you got to talk all the goddamn time. Like, you can sit on the couch and be flipping through your own phone or reading the newspaper or whatever. Like, good conversation should be part of it, but don't feel the need to yap your gums all the time.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I've been in relationships or friendships or whatever where the conversation is just on a different level than it is with other people. Sometimes you just connect with people that are like, wow, we really have good conversation, where either I leave learning something or I leave inspired or, I think it's important to have that in any relationship, whether it's romantic or otherwise. Like, I crave good conversation.
Absolutely. I think it's a sign of intelligence and comedicness and all of that, where I don't want to debate everything in life, but I do enjoy a good spirited debate if you're coming at it with some mutual respect or somebody educating me on a topic. Maybe I'm not debating you, but you know more than I do. I want to hear that. I want to learn.
Sure, different perspectives. I mean, the art of a conversation is fantastic. And like you pointed out, dude, I mean, you and I can drive in the car together and be totally silent, and I'm not uncomfortable, and I know you're not uncomfortable. Like, you should be able to have silence with each other and not think, oh, are you mad at me, dude? Is something going on?
Here's a fun conversation that I started with my son and is now taking on with Kennedy. And it's a good example of a time where I like to debate and needle people because I know sometimes it drives them nuts, and that's the reason I do it. But when you actually know more than me about a topic, I do want to hear what you're saying. What's your opinion of Kendrick Lamar? Do you know who he is? Could you pick him out of a lineup? And could you name one Kendrick Lamar song?
Yes, to all of the above I could.
Really? You know some
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar songs?
Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, this came up. Crosby, my son, was trying to tell me that Kendrick Lamar is one of the greats. He will stand the test of time. You know, we were talking about high school kids wearing Nirvana T-shirts. Like, Nirvana stood the test of time. Led Zeppelin stood the test of time. Mozart has stood the test of time. He was telling me Kendrick Lamar will stand the test of time. And I was telling him, like, no, he won't. And it's because I know nothing about the man.
Yeah.
Big enough that I can name a Kendrick Lamar song. I'm not a Garth Brooks fan, but I know, Friends in Low Places or something. Like, if you're big enough, I'm forced to know about you. And I know next to nothing about Kendrick Lamar. But Kennedy knows a lot about rap and hip hop, in part because her son is a hip hop artist. But she's listened to a lot. She knows a lot about it. So she was kind of educating me on Kendrick Lamar a little.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I mean, sometimes you shut yourself out of worlds, and it is nice to get a little knowledge about certain things. Rachel's a big Kendrick Lamar fan. My nephew is a big Kendrick Lamar fan. And in recent days, I mean, Kendrick Lamar has been well known as a great producer of records for a while now. But in recent times, this whole battle between Kendrick and Drake has really spurred up some stuff, right? And they not like us, dude. That's all I'm going to say is, I mean, it's wildly popular. And when I see certain people who really enjoy that music, like Rachel or my nephew, they're like, he is spinning gold. This is unbelievable. I'm like, well, I love that you love it.
Yeah. Well, I told my son, call me when your son is wearing a Kendrick Lamar shirt to high school, and I'll concede that, yes, he stood the test of time. So,
I mean, Biggie and Tupac have stood the test of time, right? You see their T-shirts everywhere. So will Kendrick make it?
Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, NWA, Ice Cube. Like, yeah. Will Kendrick Lamar be in that category? I don't know.
Since we were talking about communication, what kind of woman do you have when it comes to decompressing after a day of work? When Kennedy comes home to you or straight from work, does she want to talk right away, or does she need a little time to, unpack her day?
It's a very valid question. I've noticed a couple of different shades of it. Sometimes she wants to go do a little something and then come detox with me. We tend to want to talk pretty early on, like, how was your day? How was my day? And then we move on with the evening of dinner or whatever the plans are. The one funny thing, though, I've noticed when she comes home, like, I work at home or sporadically, running around to clients or whatever for the radio station. But I dress casually. Often when she comes home for dinner, I will put something nicer on than what I was wearing all day. Whereas when she gets home, she immediately wants to put pajamas on and a ratty T-shirt and just relax. So
that's funny.
We miss each other on that level. But no, for the most part, yeah, we're okay talking relatively quickly.
I just noticed that my wife it didn't seem to always be like this, but like in the last year, and there's been a lot of change, I suppose, with both of us, because since pandemic, and even before pandemic, I've been working at home, so I don't see people. I'm not social all day long. So when she comes home, I'm sort of like the dog, like, hey, what'd you do? How was your day? What'd you have for lunch? You know, that kind of thing. And she has just been working so much and so hard that she finally told me, like, oh, I just need a little time. Give me 20 minutes. Yeah. You know, you could say hi and, you know, but don't attack me verbally, please. I'm not ready for it.
I'm the same way. I've had that habit of, yes, I'm the dog waiting at the door. How you doing? How you doing? You're home. What are you doing? Like, right. And often I'll tell her, like, you need to go detox, do anything when you want to talk. Like, 9 times out of 10, she's ready. But there's been times she's like, give me a few minutes. Let me just detox. Let me make a phone call. You know, like, so I get it.
We're just going over some common mistakes that drive men away. But as we found with the first one, I think maybe this will be multisexual. These could drive anyone away. Constant criticism. Constructive feedback, that's essential for growth, but relentless criticism can be damaging when a partner is consistently negative.
Well, no kidding. I don't know why you'd want to be with someone who's just constantly negative and criticizing you. I mean, I've had relationships that have too much of that. But even then, there was still some balancing act going on there.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine that, though? You do have some of your friends. Like, if you think about people in your life that you're friendly with, you know the negative ones. You could tell me, well, this person's negative, this person's negative. So there are definitely negative personality types.
Yeah, listen, I want a partner who will hold me accountable for some things, but yeah, just railing on me constantly, like, no, thank you.
Nagging, does that kind of fall under that same parachute?
I would think so, yes.
I don't want to be nagged. Sometimes I need to be nagged, but for the most part, I don't want to be nagged.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some level of accountability is, of course, appropriate and a sign of a good relationship. But yeah, if you're nagging all the time, like, good grief, no way.
Is your girlfriend emotionally unavailable?
Are you asking me specifically?
It's on the list, but I'm asking you.
Emotionally unavailable. I mean, no, I don't know why I would be with someone who's emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
Someone who's very emotionally available, quite frankly, especially to balance with my constant therapeutic thoughts and working on things and whatnot.
Yeah, it's nice. It goes back to having conversation, being able to have conversations. So it's something I love about my marriage. I think for the most part, my wife is very emotionally available. Maybe I need to wait 20 minutes after she gets home, but she will be emotionally available.
I learned a new term in therapy recently. I was talking to my shrink about Kennedy. You know, she asked me, like, what are some of the things that, you know, you like about her? What are the things that are going well? And I said that, you know, she is mature in a way that I've never been with someone. And then I told my therapist, I'm not supposed to use that word, though. Kennedy hates when I describe her as mature because she feels that that has a connotation that you're old.
Right.
So I told my shrink, like, I'm trying to say that she's has a lot of age-related wisdom. Is that better than maturity? And my shrink was like, why don't you just call it what it is? It's emotional intelligence, also known as EQ. Not IQ, like you're smart intelligently, an EQ. Are you emotionally intelligent?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The other way I think about it is just she's got life experience, you know.
Right. That sounds like code for being old, too, though.
It does? Man, you got to be careful, dude.
Oh, you do. This is the first, well, it's not the first time ever. It's the first day. I think it's my first actual long-term relationship that's been with a woman who's older than me, with the exception of when I was 19 with the 35-year-old. That was a different thing, though. But
had to bring it up.
I did. It's going to be in my memoirs. I expect you to bring that up in my funeral if you outlive me. So.
Steve was a good man. Started with a 35-year-old.
And continued to please women for years to come. But yeah, emotional intelligence, your EQ, that is important.
I like it. These are all mistakes that drive men away. We're just going to say these are mistakes that drive people away. Feeling unappreciated. Everyone wants to feel valued in a relationship. If a person consistently feels overlooked or underappreciated, it'll lead to resentment. That's true.
It's so easy to appreciate someone, yet it does so much damage when you don't. It's so easy to just say, hey, I appreciate you cooking dinner tonight, or hey, that dress you're wearing looks really nice. Like, expressing some small amount goes a very long ways. Doesn't mean you should do it every time, though, or it may lose its effectiveness, but you should definitely be sprinkling that in.
Just a little statement goes so far, for both. I mean, when Rachel gives me some sort of appreciation, that's just out of nowhere, it means the world to me, and the same to her. So, yeah, it doesn't take much. Just you got to have a little idea of what's going on around you. That's one thing I'm going over in therapy right now is how to be present in the moment and live with intention. So, yeah, I've been working on that and trying to live with more intention.
That's interesting. You feel it's going well?
I feel like yes, but it's uncomfortable for me. And it mostly, like we spoke about maybe last week about me and silence. That's where all this comes from, is trying to live intentionally and enjoy the silence around me, or finding all the stuff that I ignore all the time. Yeah. So yes, I feel like it's going good, but it's a growing process for sure, dude. I can feel that I'm going through it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good sign then. So keep it up. But yeah, appreciation is good. Just don't let it meld into ego stroking where you feel like, oh, she didn't say thank you for dinner tonight. She said the last 6 nights, but now I must not be good enough or attractive enough, or, so it's a slippery slope. It's like cocaine. A little bit here and there, fine. You're doing it all the time. No.
How do you feel about a lack of physical intimacy? Well, I already know how you feel, dude. I mean, it's something that you don't care for, right?
I do not care for that whatsoever, quite frankly. I've, one of the realizations of getting divorced was that I spent 17 years with my ex-wife and 3 years before that with a woman who, both of those relationships, I was sexually incompatible with. Being a sexually, mature guy, horny guy, like, somebody that enjoys intimacy and sex and physical contact, I spent 20 years of my life in relationships back to back where I was not getting my needs met. And I was made to feel like I was some pervert that had too many needs, or I was some sort of perpetrator. You always want sex and stuff. Like, it was miserable and the worst.
The thing about that is when we just say, a lack of physical intimacy, you do, or most people do, come to the conclusion of like, you're just too horny, dude. You want it all the time, blah, blah, blah. But a physical connection is an essential aspect of romantic relationships. If a relationship lacks physical affection and intimacy, it can lead to feelings of rejection. Whether you're meaning to or not, that physical closeness and connection that you make when you're intimate is also something guys crave, by the way. It's not just to get our rocks off, right? Like, we want to feel connected with our person. Getting our rocks off doesn't hurt, but we also want to feel a closeness.
Absolutely. And everyone's different. This old school concept of wait until you get married to have sex is some of the dumbest relationship advice I could possibly imagine, because being sexually compatible with somebody is important. So I can't fathom getting married to someone and then realizing, oh crap, like she's not into this, or she only wants it once a week and I want it twice a week. Like, whatever it is, like, you have got to be sexually compatible. And, that doesn't mean I need sex multiple times a day, 7 days a week. Like, everyone's got a different metric as to what fills their cup. But
sure,
if you're not compatible, if it's not lining up, like, oof, that leads to all sorts of emotional problems and other problems outside of just your intimacy per se.
And like you said, it can line up. Like, if you are a person who only wants to have sex once a week or once every 2 weeks, there's also that person that's compatible. So
absolutely. I used to think I wanted sex every day, all day kind of thing. And, I'll tell you, when my ex-wife and I were attempting to conceive our second child, we got pregnant very easily on the first one. So we assumed the second one would be a no-brainer. And we had sex sporadically for a month with no protection, and we didn't get pregnant.
Yeah.
So oh, screw this. Like the next month, we're having sex every day. Like we're just going to make this happen. And I will say it did work. But after day like 20, 21, 22, I was like, I need some downtime. Like this is really killing the fun of this. Like this has become work.
It's clinical at this point, right?
Yes, yeah. So everyone's got to find their number, their balance. You know.
The question is, though, you talk about being compatible with somebody. How do those things change over the course of many years together with somebody, whether it's hormonal changes? It's interesting to think about how things can change, and they can kind of peaks and valleys, but I think for me, I've found as those changes are communicated, then it's no big deal, dude.
You just nailed it. I think that was the first thing on this list. It goes back to communication.
Yeah.
If you're having an off week or as you get older, just communicate this stuff. And maybe there's alternatives, where, quickies more often, or you plan, like, whatever it is, like communication. It's the key. You should just drift in completely opposite directions and no longer give a crap if their needs are being met or not.
That's one of my favorite. I'm a big fan of The Office, dude, and I love the relationship of Jim and Pam. Well, a lot of people do, but one of the things that they talked about on that show that I thought was so great was when Jim and Pam are going through their difficulties in their relationship, and somebody says to him like, "Oh, we were fine when we were fighting. It's when we stopped fighting that I knew it was over." And like the communication on every level had stopped. I knew it was over.
Yeah, for sure.
This is a list of common mistakes that drive one of you away, men or women. Having different values. I mean, that is something you should also talk about before a relationship. Like sometimes relationships get so hot and heavy and like, hey, we're just, banging away or, we're having fun. The mature side of the relationship hasn't crept in and you haven't discussed your values. Are you pro-choice? Are you pro-life? I mean, what are you? You got to discuss some of these things because, fundamental values will definitely shape a relationship. But if you don't agree on a lot of things, well, that's going to be an issue. It'll drive people away.
Kennedy still laughs over the fact that on our first date, I brought up politics and religion. And on the first date, she was like, whoa, so we're going there already. Okay, let's talk about politics and religion. I was like, yeah, because if you don't have the right answers, there is no second date. I would rather find these things out sooner than later, especially in today's political climate. We no longer can agree to disagree on certain things. These are moral compass issues. If you're not okay with my firstborn being gay, or if you don't believe in science or treating minorities, no. How could this possibly go anywhere unless we're just going to hate sex all the time?
Yeah. You didn't feel like that was too quick to bring it up, like maybe wait to date 2 and 3. You didn't want to waste any time.
No. Normally on the dating apps, I would bring that up in our conversations back and forth before we even get to a first date. But on my dating profile, I had put like Trump supporters don't even freaking bother messaging me. So I made that pretty clear. Religion's a little different, but no, I still brought it up on the first date because, what if she's Jewish and can only marry a Jewish man, or if whatever it is, you're going to church every Sunday, you follow the Bible as a moral code. I don't want any of that crap.
Well, she had all the right answers.
Yeah. And some of these things change over the course of life, I mean, she used to be religious, not anymore. Fine, I can accept that. Some people may have said, I voted for, the first Bush or whatever. I used to be a little more conservative. That's fine. Where are you now? That's what I need to know. Because I'm dating you now, not you in 1989.
What do you think about, dude, going through a relationship and maybe I'm not religious, okay? And then I don't know, 10 years from now, maybe I get cancer and I find religion. How would you deal with that? And is it a deal breaker 10 years in?
I mean, on one level, I can't fathom that kind of thing. But if it happened, what do you do with it? Are you pushing on me? Do I have to be religious? Or are you going to say my gay daughter's no longer okay? Like, if it's just something you find for a source of strength, something to believe in, yeah, that's fine. Go for it. But
what if I want a little bit of support with it? What if I would like I want to start saying grace and showing, just that I'm thankful before dinner. I'd like to have your support.
God, I mean, if I'm 10 years in,
Yeah,
of course, I'm going to be pretty damn tolerant. I mean, we were together all that time. That can't be a deal breaker, again, unless, you're using it to beat me over the head with. But I would make it like if I go to anyone's house and they want to pray before the meal, I don't make a stink out of it. I bow my head and just to be respectful and nice.
sure. Yeah.
Don't freaking start reading Bible verses to me in bed or something.
Yes, dude. I hope that never happens for you, dude. I really do.
I can't fathom. I mean, maybe some traumatic head injury someone may.
We've been going over things, common mistakes that drive people away. Poor conflict resolution skills are on this list. I think you can speak to that a whole bunch, Steve, because I know just through this podcast and as being your friend that's something you struggled with in past relationships that you've done some work on yourself and hopefully found in a new partner.
Yeah. It's absolutely true. Every couple's got to figure out how to resolve conflict, hopefully shy of an argument. But if it gets into one, you got to have some rules in place as to how to de-escalate things and if people need breaks. But I will tell you, as you know, I've had some weird attraction to alpha women, just these women that are very outspoken and very verbose. And, there's some weird part of me that was attracted to that. And it always blew up in my face. It did with my ex. It did with the Hindenburg. And now I'm with someone who has age-related wisdom, emotional intelligence in the fact that we don't have those kind of conflicts. Kennedy and I are 8 months into this, and we've had some mild disagreements. But, I mean, with both my ex-wife and the other ex, within the first couple of months, we were having major arguments.
Yeah.
I just thought was normal. Or part of me kind of liked that you're so outspoken. But I've come to realize, that shit is toxic, man. That should have been a first indication. 2 months in, she's screaming at you. Get the fuck out of that relationship,
Yeah, anytime someone's screaming at you or talking down to you like that, it's never a good thing. The thing we should all think about is that, hey, we can agree that in a long-term relationship, we're going to fight. And the question is, how do we fight, right? Is it done in a respectful way? And when I say fight, we're not screaming at each other, but we're having a disagreement, right? And we can talk through it. And, like you said, maybe sometimes people need to take a little time away. You need a break, whatever it may be. But let's learn how to fight together.
Exactly. There can be people that start yelling and screaming as part of a fight. It can just happen. But then do you have a rule in place as to how to de-escalate that? And more importantly, will the person follow it? Because with both of my alphas, we had this rule that if one of us calls for a 20-minute timeout, because when your heart rate gets too high, you become emotionally flooded, you can't make sound decisions, you're supposed to agree, all right, I need 20 minutes, because that's how long it takes your heart rate to come down and you start to think rationally. If you both follow that, it can work beautifully. But if one of you goes and takes 20 minutes and does some meditation and calms down, and the other one spends 20 minutes writing a list of every reason they fucking hate you and they want to come scream at you as soon as the bell rings after 20 minutes, that doesn't work at all. So do you have the maturity to agree on some of these things, even if you are a hothead?
Rachel and I got a pretty good system now where if we get in an argument, we inevitably just go our own ways. And then when we come back together, one of us will say, are we still in a fight? And that's a great way to, no, we're not in a fight, and you can just talk about things, but you got to find a good fighter, dude.
Communication.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up with stagnation because I would love to know your thoughts on stagnation. Relationships require growth and change, obviously. If a person feels that a relationship has stagnated and lacks excitement, it can be discouraging.
Well, sure. But again, that comes down to communication. Why is it stagnant? Is it not enough sex? Is it not enough date nights out? Are we not trying new hobbies? Why is it stagnant? Why does that bother you? And communicate with the person. And by the way, maybe that's the time to agree to disagree. I want to get outside more. Okay, well, maybe you take your Saturday afternoon and you go hike. I'm going to sit here and watch TV or whatever. But communication.
Can one person become stagnant? Because, in life and therefore in relationship, you're going to have those peaks and valleys where, like, yeah, 11 months out of the year, I'm on. But maybe I had a down month where I was a little stagnant. I didn't really go outside. I was just kind of, lost in my own mind. Therein lies communication once again. Let's just at least talk about it. I'm not going to leave you if you become stagnant. It'll take a few years for me to go.
There's a huge difference between being stagnant and going backwards. So if you were, a healthy sex life, for example, if it could become stagnant, that means it's staying where it is. It's if someone's like, yeah, we've been having sex 4 times a week, I'd like to do it 4 times a month or once every 4 months. Like if it's going backwards, that might be an epic problem unless you're both going backwards. So again, communication. But no one should ever tell you, like, I want to ski more. I don't want to ski more. Okay, I'm not going to stop you from going out skiing. Then go do it. That's fine.
Yes. The only problem with